Who is Wendy Blanchett? She studied in an institution recognized by the imperial family of Moronata, the Tower of the Magician. She's one of the youngest top 3 civil servants in the tower, as well as the disciple of Shakma, the great sage who has reached his zenith. Simply put, she is a natural-born genius. The person whom she has loved for a long time got married. 10 years of unrequited love finally vanished at the sight of them exchanging vows in front of the altar. In the end, even if her mouth was torn to pieces, she still wouldn't be able to tell him about her feelings. Now that she's finally free from these feelings, she thought she'd feel a sense of freedom, yet she only succumbed to loneliness. She couldn't bear to be alone in this sorrow that no one could sympathize with, so she silently wished that someone would hug and comfort her. Suddenly, someone knocked on the door. She couldn't let anyone see her weak, but a worried voice was what she needed to hear the most. At that moment, she just wanted to be comforted with kisses, and by pushing their bodies together, something happened. That morning, she only wishes that the guy wouldn't remember, or that he might drop his conscience and run away. And the most surprising of all is that she slept with Aiden Winter, the most notable newcomer in the Magician's Tower, and was praised for having a magical gift by Shakma himself. Given his straight and handsome appearance, he's an ace who captured the hearts of all the wizards in a polite and amicable manner. At least even while drunk, you made the right choices, Wendy. I mean, look at him. Guessing by how old he is, at least he's not a minor, or else she already committed a crime. Suddenly, Aiden wakes up and blushes at the sight of Wendy in front of him. On the other hand, Wendy feels guilty for him. He's shining like a child, yet last night, she took his innocence. She then swears under her name to take full responsibility and apologizes for what she did. Also, it will be terrible to imagine a rumor going around that Wendy Blanchett has hit a new candidate, so she asks him to keep it a secret or else her reputation will definitely be ruined. Above all, she wouldn't like it if it would reach the person she loved the most. Aiden then requests to marry him. Yes, Wendy, he's referring to the marriage that you recently attended. And well, he's dead serious about it. Of course, Wendy disagreed. Who would want to marry a person they just spent one night with? When she said she was going to take responsibility, she meant to help in any way and not about marriage. But Aiden deserves proper compensation for mental and physical damage. Still, it won't be right to gamble her whole life just for that. Out of the blue, Aiden is crying that she's breaking her promise of granting his request. Oof, someone's in big trouble. How can she say no when he's looking at her like that? I mean, look at that face. He's making her weak every second. Wendy can't take it anymore. She panics and cups his face, saying that she will marry him and that he should stop crying. Huh? What did she just say? Aiden looks at her deeply as he caresses her hand. Only then she realizes why people keep saying that he is beautiful. Obviously, she got tricked, and worse, by a younger guy. But can she even blame him? She's so ashamed of herself, and so she has to find a way to break that promise. She didn't know she was obsessed with looks, but still, it doesn't sit right with her. Relax, Wendy. Who doesn't like handsome men anyway? Harassing a weak guy like him? How unbelievable, Wendy! But at that moment, she just wanted Aiden to stop crying. But the bigger problem is that someone might have witnessed it and will start a rumor in the Magic Tower. What will happen to her then? And why is she hesitant to tell straightforwardly that she doesn't want to get married? She then realizes that Aiden still kissed her even when her breath smelled of alcohol. But why would a handsome, talented, and bright-minded person want to marry her? Suddenly, she flinches when she hears someone calling Aiden. She takes a peek from the balcony, recognizing him in an instant. Though her mind is still glued to her unrequited love, her eyes widen when the girl asked why he stayed out late last night. When Aiden answers, he takes a glance at Wendy. Wendy can't take it anymore. What if he'll tell the truth about last night? Well, there's only one way to stop him. She then calls him to her office, even though he's working in another department. In her office, Aiden thinks that Wendy wants to proceed with the wedding plan right away, but he's wrong. Wendy has to cancel it. She can't be a good wife because she still hasn't forgotten him yet. For a witch, a promise is like poison. Even if it's not of great importance, she should keep it or else she'll lose a considerable amount of mana. The only way to avoid that is to modify the promise for it to be invalid. Aiden leans closer to her and proposes an engagement instead. there's no way she can refuse a relationship with the intent of marriage. For a month, they should get engaged first while keeping it a secret from the other magicians. Cornered, a man pretending to be harmless is saying things that no one can overlook. He's like a criminal. Wendy feels sorry for her researchers, but work is the best option to keep herself busy, thinking that she'd be able to forget about it. However, Aiden still visits her more often, bringing food to her table to eat. He has already won over the researchers, and at this rate, he'll just settle in the office. Despite shoving Aiden away, she still takes a bite of the sandwich that he left. Seeing how happy her researchers are, she confronts them. This time, Wendy asks them if they don't find Aiden annoying. Of course they don't. They definitely love him for everything he has ever done to help and make their tummies full. Wendy sarcastically smiles that they aren't even asking for her opinion if she likes Aiden or not. Well, she hates his presence. Says the one who pulled him in one night? For 7 years, it's only been the 4 of them, so they hate the idea of their domain being intruded upon. At a time when they are starting a new project, she thought there was no way they could extend a warm welcome to a stranger, but when Aiden walks in, they rush at him like eager and excited puppies. Wendy definitely feels betrayed. Actually, it looks like they're hiding something. 5 days ago, when Wendy wasn't at her desk, Aiden had come over and pointed out the errors for them to work better on. Isn't he outstanding? Since then, Aiden has actually been helping them with their work, so they can't help but welcome him. Wendy at this point is trembling in anger, questioning how they easily accept someone's help who works in another research lab. Logan and Nick don't seem to read the atmosphere. They even suggest having Aiden as a joint researcher. Wendy dismisses them, but Logan and Rosie persist in taking this opportunity to point out how short-staffed they are, and that they need a newbie and talented magician in the team who doesn't need a lot of training. Simply put, Aiden is reliable. Wendy feels guilty for letting them work on 3 projects just because of her personal reasons, so she agrees to talk with the Magic Stone Research Department. The next day, Aiden is starting his first day in her office. This is going to be interesting. Only one person joined the team, yet the quality of work had greatly improved. Wendy wonders why he didn't apply to the Department of Magic Power despite his impressive and accurate insights about magical gods and runes. For the past few years, there were no applicants, so Wendy didn't bother recruiting people. That aside, Aiden is more well-behaved than she expected. He's surprisingly tight-lipped about that night. However, it's quite obvious that he has a massive crush on her, that even Rosie notices it. After all, Wendy is the reason why he came to the Magic Tower. He really wanted to meet her in person. Does this mean he knows about her even before? Jeez, Aiden, you're quite creepy. Wendy didn't deny that she's really famous, so she can't blame Aiden's interest in her. But she can't deny that there are also people who hate her. Shakma, who declared he would not accept new disciples, accepted a student after 30 years. He only did so because she was a genius. From the moment she realizes those who criticize her behind her back, despite her showing humility to their compliments, she then starts giving them a reason to hate her. Wendy then gives them permission to get off work at 5 p.m. Considering her team's efforts, she should at least grant their wish of having a welcome party for Aiden. As Aiden looks at her warmly, she realizes how he came to her diligently, and because of that, she became used to him. But the moment she became aware of it, the feeling of familiarity turned into awkwardness. Suddenly, Maron, Shakma's secretary, informs Wendy that Shakma has summoned her. There's nobody in this country who hasn't heard of Shakma's reputation as Moronada's great wise sage. Wendy first met him when she was very young. Despite being born as a poor farmer's daughter, Shakma came to offer her an opportunity to join the Tower of Magicians. It was an offer that she didn't hesitate to accept. Her little sister is weaker than her, so if there's one less mouth to feed, her parents wouldn't struggle to raise 2 kids. Since that day, Wendy's path became different, and Shakma became the closest to her heart, her companion in all her endeavors. When she enters his office and meets his piercing gaze, it feels like she has become a young child again. However, Shakma starts talking about hearing some interesting rumors around. Dun dun dun! The rumor is about Aiden Winter. Calling him a puppy because of how he carries food, follows Wendy around, and flutters whenever he's with her, Wendy can't disagree. But it appears she doesn't quite hate him. Aiden, who roasted all Wendy's suitors, must be great at talking. Well, that's because her suitors are all creepy. On top of that, she's in the wrong for harassing Aiden. More than anything, he didn't make her cringe. Also, there's a 5-year age difference. What can she do with a little kid as her partner? Still, Shakma advises her not to constrain herself by anything and just do what she feels like doing. Some say that it's a privilege of youth. Shakma stands and pats her shoulder, assuring her that everything will be all right. Her heart is drenched with consolation by the only person who has always been on her side and the reason why she's so immersed in work. She'll not be able to repay him in this lifetime. And so, she will never let something as trivial as her love life make him worry. Although, contrary to what she said, she is already thinking of someone, but that's only an embarrassment. When she comes back to her office, it's already past 5 p.m., and so she permits the start of Aiden's welcome party while raising a bottle of wine. Hours later, everyone's knocked out. Rosie keeps professing her love to Wendy, but before Wendy gets more annoyed, Aiden takes over and uses psychic magic so she won't resist anymore. Wendy notices that Aiden is rather strong as he carries Rosie carefully. Of course, you know that he is well built, Wendy. No need to make us jealous. Jeez. However, she suddenly realizes something. To Aiden's defense, he doesn't use hypnosis when he asks for his request. Surely, she wasn't spellbound, but it doesn't change the fact that she was unsightly and disgraceful. Wendy turns away, but Aiden holds her hand, apologizing if he ever displeased her. Wendy then pulls out her hand and walks away out of embarrassment for remembering that incident. Despite her strong remarks not to follow her, Aiden changes how he talks and firmly tells her no, like someone who has been hiding his true colors all along. Aiden firmly tells her that he won't listen. He knows exactly that Wendy's been pushing him away. Despite knowing that Wendy's not the easy type, he's still becoming impatient. Wendy feels burdened. The reason why she can't cut him off is because she showed him her vulnerable side. But surely she didn't fall for his good looks. The reason why she feels a prick in her conscience every time while pretending to give him a chance is because she wants to be consoled and comforted. Simply put, she just likes the idea of someone genuinely following her innocently. Realizing how horrible she is, she cries, and the first person who gives her a reason to do so is Aiden. She treats him coldly, believing that he will give up, but that's not the case here. What she doesn't really like is this weak side of her, seeing him crying because of her. When they settle down, Wendy clarifies that he didn't do something wrong, but she doesn't like being tied down to anyone. She doesn't believe in eternal love, or perhaps she's scared of ending up alone. Still, Aiden is persistent that Wendy's a good person. He's been looking at her all this time. He knows what she thinks of him no matter how she puts on a poker face. If he knows, then why can he still smile like that? On top of that, it was just a one-night stand, so what's so certain about feelings lasting a lifetime? Aiden at this point is confident that his feelings won't change. He likes her very much. Wendy argues that they don't even match well together, but Aiden points out how they are well matched at night. It isn't bad during the day either. Ah! Aiden pulling some indisputable facts. Don't even try to deny it, Wendy. Aiden reaches for her hand and kisses it, asking for another chance to prove how much he likes her. Wendy flinches as he keeps confessing his feelings with every touch. That time, something happened again. His hands that explore every inch of her body light an ember inside her. Judging by how he can even make such a facial expression, if someone had taken a look at Aiden now, they would have thought that she's the most beautiful woman in the world. However, Aiden puts her down, begging her not to arouse him because he doesn't want to hurt her. She suddenly presses her lips on his, saying that she likes things a little extreme. Wendy, that's illegal! After that, Wendy realizes Aiden's above-average strength and stamina. Her feelings aren't as ardent and eager as his, but she did not feel any regret after provoking him. But for her, what they have right now is enough. When Aiden comes back with a glass of water, Wendy crosses her arms, saying that she doesn't want to move. Aiden takes a sip of the water and kisses her. That's exactly how you feed Moronada's Wendy Blanchett. In the end, he's making her weak at his every gaze, every touch, and every reassuring smile. Suddenly, Aiden stops himself because Wendy has the poorest stamina among all magicians. Even a while ago, she was so out of breath that Aiden was so out of breath. I'll just leave this to your imagination, guys. Thanks to him, she comes to know her feelings, though she's a little tired. It's so cute how Aiden apologizes for making her tired. Ah! How can you stay calm about this, Wendy? She isn't certain that her feelings are the same as his, and she can't guarantee the future. Even though she feels burdened by his persistence, she doesn't hate him at all. In the bath, Wendy ponders about how she never had a proper relationship and that there were no suitable suitors either. Now that she thinks about it, the only person she brought home is Aiden Winter. Most magicians are individualists. It is only natural to have her own personal time. Anything that can hinder that will be counted as discourtesy. Even her researchers whom she worked with for 7 years cannot enter her house. However, she easily got swayed by Aiden's charms, letting him in and even considering buying a bigger bathtub, though she used to treasure it so much, just because she wanted to share it with him. And even if there's someone invading her personal space, she feels comfortable rather than being annoyed. In her office, Rosie throws a tantrum that Aiden and Wendy left them behind last night. She's about to walk out the door, but Wendy bangs it before she can even go out. Even though she's mean to Rosie for being so dense and childish, her skills are undoubtedly fascinating. That time, the researchers made lots of reports over the past few days. This is how they come to realize that the handsome and desirable new recruit has bewitched their witch. Wendy realizes that her researchers are overworked, and so she promises to give them a long vacation once the projects end, giving Rosie and Nick time to prepare for their wedding. Rosie and Nick got engaged 3 years ago. Wendy tried to come up with a solution for them, but Rosie and Nick told her that they didn't have to get married since they were already living together. Wendy's grateful for their consideration, but she's aware of Rosie's dream about having a wedding ceremony. She can't just ignore them. Suddenly, Wendy's reminded me that it's already a month that passed. Then, the promised amount of time is already over. In her house, Wendy realizes that they might have a big chance that the Empire will grant them more aid. Moreover, since Aiden moved to her house, he has become quite responsible for other things like household chores and cooking. He is passionate, committed, and affectionate. Aiden is such husband material. Perfect for a workaholic person like Wendy. Although Aiden knows almost everything about her, she barely knows anything about him. He has not even given her a proper and concrete answer. Besides, getting married is something that she can't even imagine doing. Suddenly, Aiden kisses her while she stares at the ceiling. He's so naturally romantic. OMG! It's giving, you don't have to worry about me as your husband vibe. The fact that he won't give in just shows how important this matter is to him. Aiden then bites her nose and they both genuinely laugh at each other. Oh, they're really heavenly matched. Suddenly, Aiden suggests that they should get married in his hometown, to which she agrees. This is rather new to her since she didn't have something like a hometown in a family. Except for the man standing before her, she doesn't know anything else. When the researchers successfully finish their projects with Aiden's help, Wendy volunteers to go alone in reporting the project so they can have their vacation. Rosie and Nick are touched, thinking that Wendy was just messing with them about it before. Aww, they really deserve some time off and to get married as well. In Wendy's mind, no matter where Aiden's hometown is, 3 months should be enough for the preparations. But there's one thing that has been bugging her all this time. Why won't he tell her where it is? Thinking about how the time should be enough for Rosie and Nick's wedding preparations too, she realizes that she also has a wedding ceremony to do. She slams her back on the chair and puts her legs on the table, trying to think about what to do in the wedding ceremony. When Aiden comes in, he reprimands her for her improper posture, but she's too stubborn to listen. Don't forget that this man is more stubborn than you, Wendy. He then sits at the table and asks why she's in a bad mood. Wendy exclaims about the wedding preparation that she doesn't know about. However, Aiden claims that everything is already in place. But where exactly is his hometown? This time, Wendy's getting upset. Aiden smiles, which makes her even more annoyed. You think she'll let go of you just because of your handsome face, huh? Of course, he is handsome, but Wendy's more persistent and places her foot on his chest. Aiden has no choice but to provide clues about his hometown. One thing's for sure, people do dislike this group. Aiden is hesitant to tell her where exactly his hometown is because she might get angry about it. This time, Aiden asks if she won't leave him when she finds out where it is. Wendy cups his face and assures him that as long as he still remains true to himself, she probably won't. The next day, Wendy trembles in disbelief that they are standing in front of the dragon's lair. Knowing that the hometown Aiden is referring to turns out to be the dragon's lair, enraged and shocked Wendy. So when Aiden is about to reach her hand and ask her if she's angry, she exclaims at him that she is indeed angry. Wendy continues lashing out at Aiden and yells that dragons can't even be persecuted since they're the most powerful species. As he tries to calm her down, she irritably tells him to stop. Our dear Wendy Witch is clearly on edge. Can't blame her though. What she just learned is a shocking discovery. In her mind, she ponders the fact that the dragon's lair is where every treasure is present, but right now, it doesn't appeal to her at all. She then grimaces at Aiden as she asks him if he's a dragon. Continuing, she points out how she can marry a dragon and even questions him if he had fun making a fool of her. When he replies that that isn't the case, she reiterates his origin and points out that he is no doubt 1,000 years older than her. With her patience snapping, she walks away from him, saying that she's going home. But he is quick to grab her hand and brings up the promise she made of not leaving him. But Wendy has had enough as she felt so betrayed since she trusted him so much. He explains that he has no intention of deceiving her and expresses that his feelings for her are real. He wants her to see him for who he really is because he loves her. Aiden looks like a lost puppy expressing his love for her. Wanting to cool off, she turns away from him. She then asks for his real name, to which he answers that it's just Aiden. Suddenly, he tightly hugs her from behind and expresses that he can't let go of her. Thinking that Aiden is indeed trying to be honest with her by bringing her to his lair, she realizes his sincerity since he revealed his true self and confessed his love for her. Pondering that there are still more things that Aiden is hiding from her, she asks him to lead her to his lair. In Aiden's lair, Wendy begins interrogating him and asks about her suspicions. He confirms that he indeed entered the tower because of her, so she asks him where he met her the first time. When Aiden confesses that she might think of him as a pervert, she is taken aback and accidentally spits out her drink. Hesitantly, he asks if she remembers her childhood and the place she lived at that time. Surprised, she suddenly gets up and shows a map, and then Aiden points to the part of the map where they met for the first time, the Marta province. Wendy can't believe that she met him in her province since she can't recall all the people she encountered in her village. So Aiden explains that his appearance at that time was different. With an apologetic expression, he reveals that he wasn't human at that time when they first met. Suddenly, he gets up and imitates the sound of a dog. Wendy, on the other hand, is confused by his actions when a memory flashes in her mind when she was a child and she is calling someone named Winter. So let's have a quick backstory on the day of their first meeting. When Aiden is reading a book about the dragon's declining population, he gets interrupted by Lord Beers, the leader of the dragons. When Aiden refuses to follow Lord Beers' order to go outside, Beers starts nagging at him. It reveals that Aiden is the first black dragon hatchling to spawn in 10,000 years. His clan is known to be powerful, proud, and hard to get along with. After what feels like forever nagging of Beers, he then commands Aiden to go out since Aiden has been staying in his lair for 10,000 years and he has never been outside since. What? That long? Aiden is such a homebody. Lair-body dragon. Given no choice, Aiden transforms into a dog as he wanders the outside world. When he has had enough, he decides to go back. On his way back, he stumbles upon little Wendy playing with rocks in the water. When Aiden comes to check on Wendy, he gets worried about her since she is alone. Pondering the dangers, he decides to stay and look out for her. Later, she feels his presence. She gets assured knowing that it's just a dog, so she innocently nears him and even pats his head. Afterward, she introduces herself and says that she's looking for a safe place to spend the night. She shares that she feels assured with him since her family won't come looking for her anyway. Oh, our poor little Wendy. She surely had a rough childhood. Feeling a sense of security with him, she hugs him and feels his warmth. Meanwhile, Aiden ponders that it will be just fine to spend the night together with her. When morning comes, Wendy decides to play with Aiden, and then she suddenly names him Winter, as she commands him to lie down. They spend the day playing happily. When they had enough, they took a rest. Aiden keeps on observing her and ponders how talented she is with her magic. When night comes, both of them settle on the grass as they watch the stars above them, and Wendy begins narrating her life. It's revealed that she has a little sister named Amy, and that her father is struggling, so she feels like she needs to disappear to lessen the burden on her family. But despite everything she experienced with her family, she feels grateful to be born and meet her sister. Isn't she the sweetest? Warm hugs to you, our little Wendy. As another morning comes, when Aiden observes Wendy, he ponders that Wendy needs someone who can keep her company and be a family since she distanced herself from her real family. One thing that concerns Aiden is that he has to go to hibernation soon. So when he gets back to Beer's lair, he asks if there's any way to delay his hibernation. He has become fond of her in such a short time that he's willing to go great lengths just to make sure little Wendy isn't alone. That's so sweet of you, Aiden. Meanwhile, Aiden's request makes Beers laugh and warns him not to get attached to humans as they grow old and die early. But Aiden replies that maybe he could delay his hibernation just until Wendy is old. As he is about to continue his words, it seems like lightning has struck him as he realizes what he's saying and then turns away from Beers. As he walks away, Beers tells him that his first love will never work out, but he is quick to deny it, saying that he just pities Wendy and that he doesn't love her. Our Aiden is still having a hard time processing his love for Wendy, huh? When Aiden turns into a dog again and meets Wendy, his mind is disturbed about love. He keeps on denying himself that he loves her. On the other hand, when Wendy gets enough of playing with him, she pets him, making him snuggle her. As he recalls what Beers has told him, he realizes that he can't push back his hibernation. As he hopes that she won't cry when he is gone, he licks her face, making her giggle. He ponders on how she is a child, and it worries him since he has seen her vulnerable side. A few days later, unknown to Wendy, who is alone by the river, is Aiden in his human form observing her from behind. A sad expression flashes on his face as he thinks that he can't accompany her anymore. Oh no, this is so sad that they're parting ways. Out of nowhere, Beers appears in front of Aiden and tells him again that what he's feeling is love. Beers then also observes Wendy and is amazed by the way she can handle magic, and then expresses that it would be such a waste if she doesn't find a good teacher. After some provocation statements to make Aiden ask for his help, surprisingly, Aiden gives in and pleads with Beers to help Wendy. Beers is left in awe as he hears Aiden plead with him, thinking that it is indeed love that Aiden feels. Beers then assures Aiden that he'll reach out to a wizard he knows. Thanks to them, Wendy's life had a positive turn. Before Aiden went into his hibernation, he meets Wendy. And the next thing we knew, he's already awake from his hibernation. The first thing that he remembers as he wakes up is his memory of Wendy. Beers then appears and congratulates him for being a fully fledged dragon now. After throwing insults at each other, Aiden asks Beers about Wendy. Beers is surprised that he still remembers her. Beers teases Aiden and talks about the possibility of Wendy being dead since 20 years have passed. Angered, Aiden grabs Beers and forces him to tell him where Wendy is. After calming down the enraged Aiden, Beers reveals that Wendy is under the care of Archwizard Shakma and that she is safe under the Archwizard's care. When asked if he will get to see Wendy, he replies that he just needs to check on her. Beers warns him again not to get attached to humans and that Wendy has forgotten about him already. Determined, Aiden asks where he can find the Archwizard Shakma. Upon learning that it is in the Tower of Magic, he immediately makes his way to the said place. As he explores the area, he keeps on hearing words about Wendy and realizes that she's grown quite famous. When he comes across a place that lingers Wendy's scent, he enters it and looks for her. It seems like heaven has heard his wish since just moments later, Wendy calls for his attention. OMG! Their reunion after 20 years! Stunned by her presence, he ponders how much he has missed her. Suddenly, his heart starts beating fast and is confused by it when he realizes what he's feeling when a memory of Beers telling him about love flashes. Seeing that he doesn't feel well, Wendy quickly checks on him and presses her hand on his forehead, making him blush more. Just look at that in-love Aiden blushing so hard. Isn't he so adorable? Realizing that he has a bit of a fever, she asks him to go home and get some rest, to which he nervously agrees after some nagging from her. After patting his head for being a good boy, he is left emotional as he recalls the time that Wendy also patted his head when he was in his dog form. That's when he realizes that Wendy was his first love all along. Now, back to the present, Aiden shares that he joined the Magic Tower to meet her. Reasoning that the moment he looked into her eyes again, he realized that he had been in love with her the whole time. When he continues recalling how he felt when they first met, Wendy gets embarrassed, recalling what she had told Aiden in the past. With his gentle expression, he holds her hand and places it on his chest as he expresses that he'd give her his heart. Despite her trying to push him away, he still expresses his affection by kissing her hand. Aiden really knows how to be sweet to Wendy. Who wouldn't want to be swooned by his gesture? Can you kiss our hands too, please? Even though Wendy is assured by Aiden's love, she still worries that there might be something that he still hides from her. Afterward, when Wendy wakes up from her sleep, Aiden knocks on her door and checks on her. When he addresses her with formalities after answering that it's already noontime, she asks if she can stop him from talking to her that way. She continues by telling him that it sounds weird since he is older than her, but Aiden insists that he will keep on talking to her that way. As she stares at him, she ponders why he is such a gentle person despite him being a dragon. As if reading her mind, Aiden tells her that he only acts the way she sees him towards her. Isn't that such a cutie? He only reserves his soft spot for her. Later, Aiden serves Wendy a meal he cooked by himself, and he gets happy as she compliments his cooking. Thinking how Aiden has gone to great lengths for her sake, she can't help but think that it is hard not to like him. But at the back of her mind, she's still having trust issues. Out of the blue, she asks if dragons get married, to which he answers that dragons usually live alone, but it's also not uncommon for them to have companions. Wendy is left sad, thinking that she will die early if she is his companion, and even though she will live longer, her limit is only 150 years, and that's if she's on the same level as her teacher. After some moments of thinking, she asks him if he knows how to become a companion, shocking him. His mood then instantly brightens up as he asks her if she's really going to be his companion. She confirms that she is sure of doing it and tells him that she isn't the type to lie, unlike someone else, indirectly referring to him. She still can't get over the fact that he lied to her and is still mad at him. Wendy then asks what to do to become a companion, to which he answers that it's simply all about the vows. When she agrees to take the vows, he is so happy that he lovingly embraces her. Even though she's still a bit mad at him, she can't get herself to hate him, so she hugs him back and pats his head. Suddenly, she remembers her past love getting married, which changes her mood. But Aiden, being the sweetest guy ever, starts kissing her, to which she responds willingly. Can we have some kisses too, our sweet Aiden? Later, Aiden keeps insisting on being by her side while she reads a book. Suddenly, a golden bird appears and Aiden is quick to grab it. Piqued with curiosity, Wendy checks the bird and asks who sent it. Knowing that it is from Beers shocks her, and she asks Aiden if he did something wrong, to which he profusely denies. As Aiden is about to go on his way to respond to Beers' call while carrying the bird, it suddenly flies to Wendy. The next thing they know, they get teleported. While Wendy and Aiden are arguing about the bird, Beers appears. Beers tells them that he called them both and that he's always wanted to see them together. Aiden exclaims to Beers that he has no right to summon her. Beers continues to provoke Aiden, which only makes him angrier. Seeing him angry surprises her, but she tries to calm him down, saying that it would be a waste of an opportunity not to greet the Dragon Lord. So when Aiden lets go of her, she observes Beers from head to toe. Beers then asks her if she's already captivated by his appearance, to which she reluctantly agrees, making Aiden jealous. Chuckling, Beers asks Wendy about Shakma and shares that they are friends, adding compliments about the exceptional wizard. Both of them happily share their thoughts about Shakma, making Aiden feel left out. They then come to the topic of Beers being the one who looks out for the dragon hatchlings. Beers explains the reasons behind it and brings up the fact that dragons' hearts are the core of their magical power. It is revealed that there was once an event 400 years ago when a party was able to kill a dragon, but they were still able to inflict big damage on the dragon slayer too. Beers continues that hatchlings are prone to being targeted by stronger dragons, so he looks after them until they become adult dragons. He reveals that he is the one who raised Aiden, and suddenly, he gets emotional as he expresses his sadness that Aiden is getting married. Suddenly, he apologizes to her while kissing her hand, and Aiden is quick to disrupt the two. Someone's surely been jealous since earlier. After Wendy calms down Aiden, Beers interrupts them, offering to be the witness of their vows and prepare a gift, which Wendy happily accepts. Wendy expresses her interest in rare artifacts as a gift. Wanting to give her something that could exceed artifacts, Aiden offers his dragon heart to her. Taken aback, Wendy is quick to refuse his offer, and despite Aiden's remarks that he belongs to her, she remains firm in refusing his offer. And then Aiden embraces her with a sad smile on his face. Our poor Aiden, willing to give everything to his Wendy. Can we just be the ones to have your heart? Wendy, in her mind, asks for forgiveness from her teacher for the state she is in now. She thought she would never marry anyone, but now she's going to marry a dragon. Despite the fact that she will be married, she'll continue doing her magical power research. As they are about to start this ceremony for taking the vows, Beers expresses his opinion and shares how Aiden is head over heels for Wendy. When Wendy asks Aiden about it, he proudly expresses that he indeed experienced love at first sight with her. He really isn't ashamed to express his true feelings to her. After some talking about Aiden's personality, Aiden impatiently tells Beers to get on with the oath already. So without further ado, Beers begins saying the oath and asks both of them if they agree with it. Aiden is quick to agree with the oath, while Wendy is still processing her decision. After some recalling of how Aiden acts towards her, she has made her choice to repay Aiden's sincerity and says, "I do." As Wendy and Aiden hold hands, a light surrounds them when suddenly she feels a pang in her chest and drops to the ground. She feels like her heart is about to burst, and when Aiden confesses that it's because he gave her his heart as a gift, she gets angry. Outraged, Wendy starts summoning her magical powers and attacks Aiden. Good thing Beers is able to get a hold of her. As she faces Aiden, she angrily exclaims at him that he has no right to alter her life. This is turning bad. It shows that the significance of handing over the heart of a dragon goes beyond as a gift. Now that Wendy has Aiden's heart, she is no longer human. Still enraged, Wendy nears Aiden and slaps him. Ouch! That surely hurts. She then grabs him and angrily lashes out at him for what he has done. Continuing, she points out how she even agreed to marry him after finding out that he lied about his identity. And now he tricked her again. Aiden explains that he is just afraid that she will abandon him. Still, his justification doesn't calm her, but rather enrages her more. As she turns her back away from him, she firmly tells him not to follow her, or else he won't be able to see her again. As she passes Beers, she apologizes for the damages she did to his lair. She then excuses herself as she feels the urge of emotions that Aiden is feeling and teleports away from them. Seeing the despaired Aiden, Beers nags at him about the course of actions he should have taken and talks about how impatient he is. Enraged, Aiden replies that even though he can wait for Wendy, no matter how long it may take for her to love him back, he cannot let her die first. Our poor Aiden is surely in so much pain. You should have talked things over first with Wendy. Later on, Wendy and Rosie are having tea together. Rosie can't help but observe that Wendy is angry about something, but the latter just denies it. After insisting that she is lying about what she truly feels, Wendy confesses that she is venting her anger. Rosie then assures her that it's fine since she often does it, and they talk about their colleagues in the research division. After discussing some matters, Wendy then thinks about how she couldn't just stay still after what happened between her and Aiden. Since his heart has melted with hers, she can also feel all of his emotions, and it bothers her, adding that he can also feel her innermost feelings. Seeing how Wendy is spacing out, Rosie asks her if it is Aiden that's causing her to be in a bad mood. Oh, you just hit the bullseye, Rosie. Calling Aiden a jerk only confirms that she is upset with him. Wendy figures that after knowing each other for 7 years, it would be more strange if Rosie did not notice how miserable she is. Suddenly, Rosie mentions that Aiden has finally got on her nerves. Seeing Wendy's confusion, she explains that no one has ever succeeded in winning Wendy's heart. However, she feels like Aiden is in a hurry, and it probably makes Wendy uncomfortable. Rosie then tells her that it is Aiden's fault that Wendy is mad at him. Wendy agrees and states that she can't forgive him. When asked what he did to make her mad, she replies that she can't tell her and that she is forbidden from mentioning his name. Rosie asks her what she will do now. Rosie is pleasantly surprised that Wendy volunteers to help with her wedding. Rosie is incredibly grateful that she is helping her sort things out. Yay! A wedding is coming! That is how the two of them find themselves in town. Wendy is going over the top in their shopping for the new house, and Rosie is left to comprehend how expensive everything is. However, Wendy ignores her complaints and tells Rosie that she has to go with the flow. She assures her that it is not expensive for her because their salary is different. She has accumulated wealth since it's been a while since she became a third-tier researcher. Once again, Rosie is amazed by her. We are too, that's for sure. If only I had funds like hers. She even decides to go to a different street to continue their shopping. However, her mood is dampened when she remembers the devastated expression on Aiden's face. It only makes her want to spend more money. Retail therapy indeed. By the time the two of them have finished shopping, they are beyond exhausted. Rosie still wonders how Wendy managed to have that much money, and Wendy simply replies that it is because she's a genius. Rosie voices that she is really full of herself, and Wendy has to remind her that she's still her boss. Rosie asks why she doesn't go artifact shopping instead since it is her favorite. Wendy is startled, and she thinks that no other artifact can satisfy her anymore since she has the greatest inside of her, a dragon's heart. She opts to change the topic and asks Rosie if she or her brother Logan needs anything. Rosie informs her that Logan basically just slept since the start of the vacation. A time well spent if you ask me. Who doesn't want to laze around every once in a while? Wendy notices that it's almost late and inquires why Nick is yet to come home. Rosie tells her that he went to the temple to submit the paperwork. Wendy knows for sure that they are giving him a hard time for being an employee of the Magic Tower, so she tells Rosie to go rescue her prince. Later on, as she is having a leisure bath, she ponders how idiotic Aiden is for giving her his heart. If she dies, he will die with her. She tries to assess what she has to do. Should she turn him away as punishment? Suddenly, an onslaught of Aiden's emotions is rushing to her heart, and she is enraged that Aiden is in despair when she is the actual victim here. Out of nowhere, a crow lands on her head, one that she instantly recognizes. It's her master's pet. Shakma has come to visit, and he asks her if she has calmed down. She denies that she is distressed at all, but he sees through her. He then reveals that he knows that Aiden is a black dragon all along. She is surprised by this, especially when he informs her that he met him when he was on his way to meet Lord Beers in the first place. Maybe her fate has always been entangled with the dragons. Hearing this from her master enrages Wendy. She doesn't want such a fate. He then asks her if she has beaten him up, and when she confirms that she did, he is glad since he doesn't have to do it himself. We stan a protective Dumbledore-like grandpa. But when he mentions her forgiving him, she exclaims that the guy isn't reflecting on what he did. She tries to calm down, but her master shifts his focus to how fascinating it is that she is a human with a dragon's heart. He is so interested, in fact, that he tries to convince her to let him do experiments on her. As expected, she refuses him and begs him to take her situation seriously instead. She mentions that she has become stronger than him and she doesn't want it. Shakma looks at her challengingly and asks her if she is certain about that. He then begins saying that there is still time before he dies, and he wants her to tell him if she wants to die as a human. He wants to do what she wants before he passes. Wendy tries to keep it together and asks him to kill Aiden instead of her when the time comes. What? So this is an exit plan? Wendy has just gotten back from doing work for her master despite being on vacation. She has come to realize that she has definitely gotten her workaholic ideals from her master. In her room, she instantly feels the presence of someone. She asks loudly if he has come to reflect on his actions. You guessed it, Aiden Winters is here. The poor guy still risked everything just to see her. He is so in love with her. I am so jealous. He begs for her forgiveness. She blatantly tells him no, and he trembles from her forceful words. Seeing his expression, Wendy comes to terms that she can never really hate him. She feels how sincere he is, but it is not enough to convince her. She wants to live as Wendy Blanchett and die as Wendy Blanchett. She tells him that he doesn't know anything, and he tells her she's wrong. She touches his face, and he kisses it. He laments that he can't tell her she regrets it because it will be a lie. He only wants to be loved by her and extend his time to persuade her. He is sorry and he loves her. He begs her not to hate him. I know he's wrong, but my heart aches when he cries. I want to hug him. Wendy tells him that she has never hated him. As she reaches for his face, she remarks that loving a dragon is tough. She wipes the tears off his face and states how she can't resist someone who is as attractive as him. Aiden tells her he loves her. However, she makes it clear that she will no longer tolerate him fooling her anymore. She wants him to promise that he will never deliberately deceive her again. If Aiden takes the vow with her heart, that means that once he breaks it, she will also lose her life. Without only a second pause, he promises to be honest with her for the rest of his life. She takes his hand and she kisses his knuckles. This vow is heavier than the one they took before, so she considers this as their actual wedding. Her devious side comes out and she bites his ring finger. She shows it to him, claiming that it is their wedding ring. Aiden is embarrassed and acting cute once again, especially when she offers her hand in return, wanting him to bite her as well. Let's just say that they had a long night after that. Later on, Wendy can barely move due to their activities. Aiden is apologetic and she can't help but hug him because of his cuteness. Aiden still tenses even though she's hugged him before, and he reasons that it is because of her. He hugs her back and exclaims how excited he is. She then tells him that she is supposed to visit Rosie to help her with her wedding, so she asks him for some stamina supplements. She asks him if he would like to try as well, and he inquires rather enthusiastically if they can continue with their activities if he does. Oh, Aiden! Get a hold of yourself! Why are you so insatiable? Wendy remarks that she'll die if they do. After their conversation, she flops down on the bed out of exhaustion. Even though her vacation has just begun, it feels like she's been through many things. Just days ago, she and Aiden were fighting, and now she is peacefully lying next to him. Aiden smiles at her warmly, and she lets herself drift back to sleep. Aiden watches her with a fond expression. He hopes she has sweet dreams and hugs her to sleep as well. So adorable. Is this the honeymoon stage? I don't know at this point. Their relationship is so complicated. Wendy is rather unimpressed that Rosie's and Nick's wedding preparation is already done. She still thinks that the whole thing is lacking even though she has already paid for everything and has made sure that the celebration will last for 5 days despite the protests of the couple. When Wendy sees that her extravagant ideas have been crossed out of the list, she makes her ire known. Aiden expertly maneuvers the situation by asking them if the 4 things for the bride's happiness have been decided yet. Rosie enthusiastically discusses her choices with him. Logan then declares that it is time for them to rest since everything is ready. However, Wendy insists that there has to be more to prepare. Turns out, Wendy is just so used to working all the time that she is anxious when she has nothing to do. She is using the wedding as an excuse to have to work. As the researchers are discussing their boss's inability to relax, Aiden offers Wendy some tea, and to their everlasting surprise, Wendy gets out of her stupor and accepts the offer. She then stands to announce that Aiden and she are going somewhere. She is visibly more relaxed now, much to the confusion of the others. Turns out the 2 of them are going to visit Shakma. When the old man sees them, he enthusiastically calls them his research materials. Shakma is rather fascinated that Aiden is using honorifics with him. Meanwhile, Wendy recalls how his words in the past helped her go back to normal with Aiden. His assurance about being a dragon slayer has grounded her. Suddenly, Shakma declares that he wants to speak with Aiden alone. Wendy is shocked and reluctant to leave them alone, but Aiden assures her that he won't lose, and Shakma explains that he will not eat up the boy. Oh, this is gonna be good! Once they are left alone, Shakma puts up a soundproof barrier. Aiden asks what his purpose actually is, but Shakma replies that he only wants to see his true colors. The old man asks him to sit down, and he has no choice but to comply. Shakma remarks that he doesn't want to actually talk with someone who has made Wendy, whom he treats as a granddaughter, cry. Aiden is seething at this point, and through gritted teeth, he warns him that he is barely holding himself back from ripping him limb from limb. That's morbid, Aiden. His puppy-like personality completely melts when Wendy is not around. Shakma confidently voices out that Wendy will never forgive him if he harms him, much to Aiden's annoyance. Shakma continues by mentioning how promising Wendy's talent is. Aiden asks if this is what he really wants to say after creating such an uncomfortable atmosphere. The old man points out that he must really love Wendy if he's holding back this much. And once again, Aiden's brutal side bleeds out when he tells him that he'll be dead if it weren't for his love for Wendy. However, Aiden panics when the old man implies that he can't refuse a request from a lovely student, knowing exactly who this student is. He stands up and determinedly makes his way to the door. He can't let Wendy see that man again. Before he can yak it open, he realizes that Wendy is not really his. He merely forced his relationship on her. He leans against the door, and with tears on his face, he knows that he can't make any mistake lest Wendy hate him. Oh, Aiden, I hate seeing you cry. Meanwhile, Wendy is planning on asking Aiden what he talked about with her master. She makes her way to the lab since it's been a while. However, when she enters, she is greeted by an unexpected person, Kane, her unrequited love of 10 years. Kane W. Everward, the dreaded ex-not lover, is the crown prince of the Empire, and seeing him again is only awkward for Wendy. She is bothered that Aiden's heart will know. Kane tells her that it is upsetting that he is not the one she came there for. He asks her why she hasn't been answering his letters and hasn't gone to see him after the wedding. He even has to ask their teacher for help in order to see her. She explains that she didn't want to disturb him, but he rubs her head and tells her that he will always have time for his best friend. Ouch, no wonder she was in so much pain. The best friend zone? That's the worst place to be. He smiles at her and she recalls how much she admires his lips. He is always cold to others, but is soft and warm to her. He has made her feel special. However, she is only a best friend. She had loved him deeply. They met when Shakma introduced them to one another, for they would be studying together from then on. She was not well received by the Crown Prince instantly, even calling her a mere child. Even though he is also a child, This kid talks funny. They used to fight all the time to the point of wanting to kill each other, but they had to take classes and do homework together. One time, Wendy overhears a couple of students talking ill of her because she has become Shakma's student. They even accuse her of having ulterior motives with the prince. With an impassive expression, she throws a bucket of water at them and summons her magic to show why exactly she was chosen as Shakma's disciple. Those two ran away fearing her, even calling her a monster. Left alone, she lets a few tears fall from her eyes before wiping them away. Unbeknownst to her, Cain is actually there observing her. We continue with the flashback, and after the incident with the other kids, Wendy is sitting on the bridge when Cain approaches her. He asked her what she was doing, but she told him it was none of his business. He then told her that she was always acting mean, that's why no one's approached her. He even called her a prickly hedgehog. Wendy stood up, reminding him that it was he who started their fights in the first place. She declared that if something offended her, she would do whatever she wanted. He then pointed out that she doesn't really do anything with her magic, and she reasoned that it was because someone could die. He laughed at her for being soft-hearted. He then took her hand and told her that she just needed to throw a punch at them so they wouldn't die. From then on, Cain would kick the backs of people who gossiped about her, and they conspired to mess the room up before running away. The two of them were a known troublemaking duo. Wendy is pulled back to the present when Cain complains that she's not listening to him. She apologizes and reasons that she's recalling their time together in the tower. The two converse with one another like they used to. Back then, she was always hiding her overflowing emotions even though Cain was a good friend. But now, she is comfortable facing him once more. The prince remarks that it is good that he is married, and she retorts that he is just bragging. He replies that it is more like a conclusion. When her confusion becomes evident, he tells her not to mind his words while rubbing her head again. What could he mean by that? Before he leaves, she calls out to him and gives her long overdue congratulations for his wedding. However, despite her enthusiasm, Cain merely gives his short thanks. Instead, he asks her to visit him and not ignore his letters anymore. Left alone, she speaks loudly, asking Aiden if he is there. As predicted, he appears and instantly tackles her in a hug. Wendy lets Aiden hug her, and she asks if he's really that jealous. He begs her not to meet him again because he's afraid that he'll take her away. He just hasn't said anything before because he's afraid that she'll hate him. She replies that she would not have waited until that moment if she were to hate him. However, she can't really say that she loves him either. What she knows for sure is that she likes him, and it is obvious that it is enough for Aiden because he shakily tells her that he likes her a lot too. They embrace one another, and Wendy is sure that her feelings have changed because she has someone like Aiden who holds her so tightly. Meanwhile, we become aware of the true feelings of Cain as he talks to Shakma. He is aware that Wendy has given up on him, and Shakma has to remind him not to be greedy. The prince is well aware of his position, and he has a limited number of people he could be with, but none of them is Wendy, the one he truly loves. Oh no! I feel so bad for him! Wendy's love from before was not an actual unrequited one. He wants Wendy to be happy, and she can't do that if he drags her into the ugly world of power that his position has to offer. Later on, it is time for the wedding, and Wendy feels like she is marrying off her daughter. Rosie is gorgeous in her dress, and even though she claims not to be nervous, she is trembling. However, her state is nothing compared to her brother when he arrived with Aiden and Nick. Nick is nervous, but he instantly cheers up when he sees his wife-to-be marveling at how beautiful she is. Logan, on the other hand, declares his hatred for Nick for marrying his sister, even though they have been living together for years. Aiden and Wendy step out for a moment, and she questions him why he is constantly smiling as if hiding something. However, he replies that it is nothing. Suddenly, Hannah, Aiden's actual boss, greets them. She talks about Aiden's usefulness and how Wendy should return what she's borrowed when the time comes. When Hannah bids them farewell, Wendy is visibly glaring at her. "Ah, are you being possessive, Wendy, dear?" Wendy has brought rum for Nick to help with his nervousness. Rosie and Logan ask for some as well, but she has only brought one small bottle. Logan is clinging to her, and she asks him to let go. Aiden, with a polite smile, has to reiterate what she just said. Although, I'm pretty sure that he's just jealous that someone is touching Wendy. The wedding is about to start, and before the couple can proceed with the entrance, she congratulates them. She watches the two and notes how similar they are to Cain and his wife. All she asks is that they will be filled with joy and happiness. Aiden and she do not stay for the whole thing, bidding Logan farewell when the couple enters. Outside, she asks Aiden how long he intends to suffer in silence. He reasons that he doesn't want her to hate him. That is when she realizes that he thinks she can hate him so easily. She then tells him that she is requesting that he be transferred to her department. He is taken aback, and she explains that she will not use him and give him back, as Hannah said, because he is hers just as she is his. That is why he can be jealous of her all he wants. He is hesitant because he gets jealous easily and might annoy her, but she teases him that he annoys her all the time. He grins brightly and she kisses his cheeks. They embrace as she recalls Hannah's words. She can't take Aiden away from her. She is even more feisty than we originally thought. Later on, while she is working, Aiden insists that she eat some snacks, and she ponders how she has changed so far. She is even eating snacks when she isn't used to. Aiden's transfer request is going smoothly. They are understaffed already, so management has taken this positively. However, she needs permission from Evelyn, who hasn't returned from wherever she is. This is just getting her stressed, but then Aiden takes her hand and kisses it to express how glad he is that she doesn't want to let him go. She pulls him towards her and is about to kiss him when they hear knocking. OMG, were they caught? We'll stop here for today, guys. Yes, I know you want more. Don't forget to ask for the next part in the comment section. Thank you guys for watching and for your support. Please subscribe to the channel, it helps us a lot. Till the next one.